Hello people, welcome to ICX in Austria, and your today's host is Angela, or me. You already met me. And today's topic is meeting and follow-up. As for anything else in life, you need to be prepared for your meeting. And how do you do that? Look up the schools online. Search up whatever activities they encourage, whatever activities they provide for their students, or anything like that. Then prepare the right value proposition. We already talked about value proposition, and you kind of personalize the right value proposition for every school, just like you have to personalize every meeting for every school. Not one like flow can be fit for all the schools and all the meetings. Write down everything you need to know, plus meeting flow, and bring it to the meeting as in a notebook. It's very professional to have like maybe a planner or something like that bring with you, and to kind of write down everything important that happens in a meeting, so you don't forget, because you're gonna have a lot of meetings and it could happen that you mix up people and stuff that you said, stuff that you went through with each school. So it's very good to get everything down the moment the person says it. So yeah, the see outputs from meetings before. If the meeting before ever occurred happened, then it's very good to go over the outputs and kind of see if anything sticks out, and maybe they had a good experience with ISEC, maybe they didn't have like any feelings towards us. So kind of it's very good to know what happened and know where we stand. Go through all the information about the project. Briefly like go over the project and let them know what they need to know, and you can go without being prepared, which is very important. The flow of mostly every meeting is first icebreaker, then about ISEC, then questions and getting to know everything. The fourth is project, then objection handling and closing. So each of these steps and phases. Icebreaker, something you found about school. Maybe you found out what they encourage their students to do, or maybe you found that they're like going on vacations together. So you kind of can bring it up to strike up a conversation and start talking about something with them. Also, you can talk about the projects that they do, the activities they encourage, or if you didn't find anything at all on the internet, or you don't have any information whatsoever, you can just compliment something that they do, something like they decorated, something they put up in the school, whatever it is. Then about ISEC, if you had sent them an email, remind them, because it makes you look more professional and more responsible. And also, if you send them an email, they already perhaps have some image of ISEC, even though they probably read it like not carefully. So you need to kind of go over the ISEC again. Ask about ISEC. This is also like a very good step, even if they know about ISEC, just to make sure that they are aware of it, that they know. If they don't, then you can explain it to them briefly. Shortly introduce them, as I already said. Only the relevant things, like don't go and talking about, I don't know, something that's not relevant to the project or to the school at all. And prepare this beforehand. It's very important to kind of, stick to 3 or 4 sentences about ISEC, so you don't go in too deep and you don't get lost. So yeah. Then questions, trying to find out what they might need. So you need to ask them questions and kind of like search for, so to say, like problem that they have. Like ask them about their additional programs, how do they work with students, any projects before, whatever it is. What are their current problems and how we can solve them. Like you are searching for a problem that you can just kind of say like, I don't know, for instance, we don't have any project this summer, like no additional activities for students. And then you go like, well, we do have this Eat for Change project that could, maybe be this additional project that you can provide for your students, for example. Find similarities between us and them. This will kind of, make them like us kind of more. So, they will see like, okay, we do this similarly, and they will find more sympathy for us and for the project itself. Then about the project. The story about the project is formed based on the answers they gave you. Or if they say, for example, they have too many projects going on, then you can just say like, well, this one is different, this one is not like all the projects, and so on. Like, you need to form the story about the project right there in that place. So you need to listen very carefully about what are they telling you, and to kind of search for that problem for you to solve it. You can't introduce the same way to every person or school. That's already said before. All the meetings, all the things like is very personalized to every school, and you can just use the same thing over and over. Maybe it happens that the same thing comes up 2 or 3 times, but it's very unlikely because all the people, all the principals, the guidance counselors are different people, and they will have different problems, and it just needs to be personalized to each school and each person. Practice different ways of explaining the project. You can do this with your team leaders, with your VPs, to kind of do the simulations of explaining the project, of the whole meeting, and so on. Okay, so the next thing is objection handling. Ask what they are thinking about the project. Can they picture us as partners? This is very important to see like if we are on the same page here, because if we're not, then we can ask like, okay, what problems are you seeing with our partnership, and then provide them with answers to make them to kind of let them know that they are wrong, but in kind of nice and polite way. So yeah, can we help in any way for the problems that they could possibly have? For example, they tell you like, okay, but we don't have the space for the project. We don't have enough classrooms. We don't have enough space for all the students. And then you kind of come in and say, well, we're gonna provide the space. We're gonna provide everything for the students. You don't have to care about that. It's our duty and our responsibility, so you don't have to worry about that. And kind of give them the trust and know that they can rely on us, and that we are pretty serious and professional with what we do. Is something stopping our partnership? Like, that's already explained. Offer more value propositions. This is the last thing. Like, if they don't see us as a partners, then you can list all the value propositions and kind of try and save the situation. So then the closing. Set up an action step. This is very important, and the goal of every meeting is to have the promotion. So an action step would be like, okay, or maybe like signing up the contract. So the next action step will be like the next meeting to sign the contract or do the promotions, like, or both. So yeah, but without the action step at the end, it's like pointless. Whatever it is, like maybe they were the best people ever and the school was the best that it could be, but it doesn't mean anything if you don't have an action step at the end. Ask if they need additional information. This is also like, they kind of can ask you whatever it is, or maybe they have like more questions, so give them the space to ask it. Set up deadlines with them. This is also very important. For example, say like you need to send them a contract so they can read it out and say like, okay, maybe this part I don't like and we can change it. So you send them the contract and say like, you need to tell me if you're okay with the contract in 2 days. Or for example, on Monday at 3 p.m. I'm calling you and you need to have like made up your mind if the contract is good or not. So it's also very important because usually we are not the priority for the schools and for the people who work there. So we need to kind of, be as responsible and as professional as we could, so they will respect it. Go over everything again if needed. This is really mandatory, and if they need you to go over the project again, then you go. If no, then it's settled. After the meeting, there's output and follow-up. That's are very important, and as soon as you can, just sit down and write an output to your team or to some like Google Doc or something like that, so you can have like all the outputs in the same space and same place, and you can leave it for the next generations. Follow-up is there if you arrange the call with them, or something like that. So yeah, act fast and respect all the expectations and deadlines. Be as responsible as possible. This is like the most important thing. And also have in mind, you can't be too prepared. You just need to kind of sit in and practice, because meetings are stressful, when you don't have an experience with it. So be as prepared as you could. You are the one who is leading the meeting, so don't be afraid. You will be nervous a little bit, but it's really not that deep and it's not that scary. You are the one who is in charge, so just be confident. Listen to everything they say. This is very important, to listen, to be an active listener during the meeting, so you don't miss any important things and stuff you can catch up and use it for selling the project. You don't need to have all the steps in the flow to consider it a good meeting. This means some people will be busy and they are they need fast meetings. You probably won't have a icebreaker or icicle part, or maybe even the project part. They will probably go through all of it as fast as possible and maybe say yes or no and just end the meeting there. And it doesn't mean that the meeting is bad because of that, but all the meetings will be different and they need to be different. A meeting is not successful if you don't know what's up after the meeting. This is also very important. As I said, the action step is crucial. You can't leave the meeting without having the promotion set up or having the next meeting for signing the contract set up, because then it was pointless. It was just nothing. You just came for nothing. And be polite and professional even if they're not participating, because perhaps they change their mind in a year or two, and maybe we become partners after that. So, and one last thing, believe in everything we have to offer, and everyone will be able to see the value of it. This is very important, because if you don't trust in the value of our project, it will be way harder to sell it to people. And yes, that's basically it. So now the follow-up. Noun follow-up means an action or thing that serves to increase the effectiveness of previous one, as a second letter, email, phone call, message, or visit. And the verb means to maintain the contact with the person so as to monitor the effects of earlier activities and treatments. But easier said is every next touch point with our stakeholders, messages, emails, etc. Who do we follow up? We follow up schools and delegates. Those are the two stakeholders that we actually follow up, and all the stakeholders that are our partners, which we need in order to have a successful project. When do we follow up? We follow up schools if you can get in touch with them, or maybe you can email them, follow up to see if they've read your email, reminder for the promotions, after the first meeting to arrange the meeting for signing up the contract. That's all considered follow-up. Okay, so we follow up the delegates. First follow up after the promotions, which is in a 24-hour span. You call them again to ask if they are still interested, kind of go over the project again, and set the deadline for the payment. And after that, sending them the payment slip example and the booklet is also considered a follow-up. Follow-up for the deadline, which means like 1 or 2 days before the deadline, you kind of remind them like, hey, your payment is due in 1 day or 2 days, it's just a reminder for you to pay. Objection handling follow-up. For example, they say like, oh, I can't attend the project for this, and that reason. You can just, kind of call them and check it out, like if there's any way you could kind of make them consider coming to the project and participating. Call follow-up if they are not responding. This means perhaps you sent them like the payment slip example and their deadline is over like 5 days ago and they are just not responding. You can consider calling them to check out like what's going on, if they're still going to participate, and so on. And final tips and tricks, follow-up edition. If we don't remind them, they will forget because we are not their priority number one, and they're basically like just our followers. So we need to kind of put them first and prioritize them so they actually respond, and we have some partnerships. If we don't follow up them, we won't be able to give them fully the value of what we are offering here. We're not their priority number one, as I already said. Follow-up is really important and professional, so don't find it like annoying or something like that, because it's very much used like in everyday business world. And just be free to call them and to check it out, like what's going on and whatever you need to find out. We are here to help them with their problems and questions, and we need to let them know we're here and we are available for them. Because if we don't solve their problems, then who will? We are not annoying, just explain why you're approaching again. As I already said, it's very professional and very good to follow up and call them again. And it's also like understandable if you even like explain why are you calling again. It's self-explanatory. Be understanding of them and be creative. Like be creative with follow-up. You can maybe search and find some other way how you can follow up and to make it effective. So yeah, this is all for today. There's one ICX in Austria and what to do. See you in the next video.